So today what we're going to be doing is talking about a couple techniques to get consistent brush strokes in skies, as well as some other techniques that'll help you make good gradients. So this is an example of a sky, which I used the wet on wet technique. I used ultramarine blue while the paper was still wet, and then came back in and did some shadows. So this is similar to what we're going to be doing, but it'll be a little bit different. So I normally start off when I'm trying to do a sky or a background color. I make a nice big kind of puddle of my color where I want it to have a little bit of water in it, but you can see it's not super light. Like I wouldn't want it to be, you know, too watery like that. I want it to be kind of dark since I'm going to use a lot of it. So what I want to do first is, if I want this to get lighter at the bottom, then I want to start with my water down below, slowly get to the top. And in order to get rid of my brush strokes, I'm making sure to use the body of my brush, and I'm not lifting my brush off of the paper. And then once I have the water down, then I'm going to be taking my blue and going from the top of my blue, and again, not letting off my brush, leaving it on the paper until I slowly run out of paint. So, and that'll dry a little bit flatter than it looks like right now, just because the water is kind of reacting to the watercolor. If you want to make a sky that's completely flat and doesn't have, you know, any darks or lights, that's where I want to take a nice kind of even puddle. And again, I'm just taking my paintbrush and I'm not really lifting it like that. So, but if you have an object in the way, a lot of times it's a little bit harder to move around objects. So for that, like let's say I had a little cherry or something right in the middle of my page. So the way to kind of go around that and still keep it consistent is you kind of go around your object. I'm not getting any more paint, and I'm trying my best not to lift my paintbrush except where I'm lifting around. So you can see I still have my little shape there, and all of this is fairly consistent. So a lot of that is not touching your paper very much and not lifting off. So if I grabbed more paint and went back into it, it's going to add dark and light areas. Or if I kept brushing and kept brushing, that's going to also cause more brush strokes. So this is a good way to get kind of a consistent flat wash. And if you're trying to blend multiple colors, what you want to try and look out for is kind of the same techniques, but not being afraid to use a little bit of water in between your colors. So if this was going to be maybe a light part of my sky, and then I wanted maybe a darker blue from certain darker skies, then in between I just take kind of a wet brush and I kind of wiggle it into those two colors. And I can also use a little bit of water in between colors, still using the body of my paintbrush. And what I mean by the body is mainly just kind of this area or the side of the tip, because you don't want to go like that, because that's going to hurt your paintbrush. You just want to be very gentle and kind of go like that. So if you want to make clouds like I was in my photo previously, actually it was a painting, but sorry, you want to wet the paper first, and then take my blue, and I'm going to be painting kind of the negative of my clouds. So where I'm painting around my clouds, I'm not outlining them, because if you outline them, it would look like that. So I'm trying to paint my sky a little bit bigger than I need it to be, but leaving some white spaces for my clouds. And since it's still wet, it's going to fuzz them really nice, but I can always come in with a wet paper towel. I prefer normally tissues, but you can also do it with a paper towel. And I could lift some extra little puffs up at the top. And then I could also use my paintbrush to lift a little bit. And then I could make kind of a dark shadowy color using some ultramarine blue and some burnt sienna. Mixing those a little together. And you can go with more of a bluey gray, or you could add a little bit more brown and that would make it kind of a neutral gray. So you want to keep it really nice and loose because most clouds aren't very defined. And then I can always come back in and start lifting a little bit more if I kind of lost my cloud edges a little bit. So those are a couple different techniques you can use. They're great for skies, they're great for other things, just backgrounds in general. So hope that helps.